Take a second to think. Reflect on the silent habits of your daily life, those routines you keep doing, even if they cause you pain. Think about the thoughts you keep having, even when they wear you out. Imagine finding out that the exact same battles you see as your own flaws were already tracked, studied, and revealed with chilling accuracy by one of the greatest thinkers in history. Imagine realizing that a man who lived over 100 years ago understood your inner struggles better than most people living today. What if the unease you feel, the clashing ideas you hold, and the quiet fights you go through aren't random at all? What if they are signs of being deeply human? And what if, by the end of this path, you find the most shocking truth of all, one that has the power to change how you view yourself forever? This is not just a story about books. This is a mirror. And the question is easy, but troubling. Is this you?
Fyodor Dostoevsky didn't write for fun. He wrote to reveal the truth. He studied the human soul with sharp detail, cutting through fake ideas, comfort, and the lies we tell ourselves. His characters aren't heroes in the regular way. They are troubled, restless, morally split, and painfully aware of themselves. They wait too long, they ruin their own chances. They want meaning, but avoid being responsible. And when we read about them, something awkward happens. We see ourselves. Imagine a mind so smart that it could see modern stress, deep sadness, and mental freezing long before modern psychology began. Long before therapy or official medical books, Dostoevsky was already asking the scariest questions. Why do people choose to suffer on purpose? Why do we hold on to ideas that damage us? Why do we fear being free even while we want it? If you like deep thinking, philosophy, or psychology, or want to know why humans act against their own good, then this talk was made for you.
This is a journey into knowing yourself, a path that doesn't give easy comfort, but offers something much more important, the truth. Before we go further, take a moment. If these questions are already moving something inside you, follow the channel, give a like, share this, and write in the comments what first popped into your mind. Stay until the end, because the last reveal is the strongest of all, and it might totally change how you see your own inner world. Dostoevsky believed that the biggest war is not in society, politics, or history, but in the human heart. In his world, the scariest jail isn't made of walls, but of thoughts. In Notes from Underground, he shows a speaker who is smart, very aware, and completely unhappy. This man knows himself so well that he becomes stuck. He sees every reason, every clash, and every excuse in his head before he even moves. And this knowing ruins his chance to live freely.
Think about that. Have you ever overanalyzed your choices so much that you ended up doing nothing at all? Have you ever felt trapped inside your own head? Dostoevsky reveals a painful truth. Being aware without being brave is a curse. When knowing yourself isn't joined with action, it turns into self-torture. The underground man isn't missing brains, he's missing peace with himself. And this is where many modern people are, overthinking, doubting, expecting to fail, replaying talks in their head, and imagining things that never happen, not because they are weak, but because they are too aware.
In Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky goes even deeper. Raskolnikov thinks he can rise above basic rules using just his mind. He tells himself that some people are allowed to break moral laws for a big goal. But what ruins him isn't the police or society, it's his own sense of right and wrong. Guilt becomes a mental load heavier than any prison time. Dostoevsky suggests something bold. You can't run away from yourself. No plan, no logic, and no clever excuse can quiet that inner voice that knows when you have gone against your own values. Stop and think. How many times have you made excuses for things that slowly destroyed your self-respect? How often have you ignored a bad feeling because facing it would mean you have to change? Maybe the most haunting point Dostoevsky makes is this. Humans don't just want to be happy, they want a reason for living, and sometimes they choose to suffer because pain makes them feel real. In a world that feels messy and uncaring, pain is proof that you exist. This is why people go back to bad relationships, damaging habits, and self-harming stories, not because they like hurting, but because pain is familiar, and what is familiar feels safe. This idea hits its highest point in the Brothers Karamazov, where faith, doubt, freedom, and duty clash. Dostoevsky faces the scary freedom of being human. If there is no outside force to save us, then we are in charge of our choices, and that weight is heavy. Many would rather give up freedom than carry that load. Ask yourself truly, do you really want to be free, or do you want to be sure? Do you want the truth, or just comfort? Dostoevsky forces us to see that the worst lies are the ones we tell ourselves. He doesn't give easy fixes, he gives a confrontation. And in that meeting, change begins.
As we move on, we will see why his ideas matter so much today, how they show patterns in how we act now, and why seeing yourself in his characters isn't a flaw, but an invite to move out of blind suffering and into conscious duty. Before we go on, think about this and share your view. Do you see yourself in these fights? Tell me in the comments. Notice what happens when you sit with Dostoevsky's ideas long enough. They stop being just words. They start feeling personal. His thoughts don't stay on the paper. They follow you into your private mind, into moments where you hesitate, feel bad, or face yourself quietly. This is because Dostoevsky knew something many thinkers are afraid to say. Humans are not mostly logical. Humans are full of contradictions. One of his most unsettling points is that people often act against their own happiness just to show they are free.
In Notes from Underground, the speaker admits that even if he is shown what is best for him, he might choose the opposite, not because he's dumb, but to be stubborn. Think hard about this. How many times have you ignored good advice, not because it was wrong, but because taking it felt like losing your own power? How often have you said no to what was healthy just to feel like the choice was yours? This inner fight isn't always loud. Often it's quiet and looks like putting things off, ruining your own progress, or endless planning. You tell yourself you'll act when the time is right, when you feel ready, or when things get better. But deep down, something stops you.
Dostoevsky saw this as a fear of being responsible, because the second you act, you are answerable for what happens, and being answerable takes away your excuses. Later psychology would say the same thing. Think of Carl Jung, who talked about the shadow. The parts of ourselves we don't want to admit are there. Dostoevsky's characters live inside that shadow. They lie to themselves, but know they are lying. They feel bad, but resist making things right. This inner pull causes pain, but it also keeps their identity alive. Without their pain, who would they be? In Crime and Punishment, guilt isn't just a feeling, it's a force that changes the mind. Raskolnikov's punishment starts long before he gets caught. His thoughts break apart, his view of reality twists, and his loneliness grows. Dostoevsky is making a strong psychological point. When your actions break your inner rules, your mind fights back. Worry, restlessness, and sadness aren't weaknesses, they are warning signs.
Ask yourself something tough. What guilt are you carrying that you haven't dealt with? What truth are you avoiding because knowing it would force you to change? Another deep idea Dostoevsky looks at is the danger of treating humans like machines. When people are seen as predictable things driven only by logic or fun, something vital is lost. Dostoevsky feared a future where humans would be forced into being happy, a world with no pain, but also no depth, no choice, and no soul. This worry shows up clearly in the brothers Karamazov, especially in the famous story of the Grand Inquisitor. Here, freedom is shown as a load most people don't want. They want certainty more than truth, and safety more than meaning. And when offered comfort in exchange for their own choices, many take it gladly. Think about this. How often do you swap long-term growth for short-term ease? How often do you quiet your doubts not by fixing them, but by distracting yourself?
Dostoevsky believed that suffering, though it hurts, forces you to face the truth. It takes away the fake parts and demands honesty. This doesn't mean pain is good. It means pain has a point when it leads to being more aware. The tragedy happens when pain becomes a habit and you stop thinking about it, when people suffer not to get better, but to avoid changing. This is why his work feels so new today. Distractions are everywhere, noise never stops, yet meaning feels hard to find. Many feel lost and worried, not because life is too hard, but because it feels shallow. Dostoevsky would say that depth is earned through struggle, through moral choices, and through the bravery to face your own inner clashes. Think about this. If your unease is not an enemy, but a guide, what is it trying to show you? As we keep going, we will see how Dostoevsky's points fit perfectly into modern life, identity, and the quiet search for meaning many feel today.
The next part will bring these ideas closer to your daily choices, your friends, and your inner voice. If Dostoevsky were watching the world today, he wouldn't be shocked by the quiet stress so many people feel. He would know it right away. The outside world has changed, but the inside fight is the same. People now have comfort, info, and choices, yet many feel empty and lost. Dostoevsky would say this isn't a lack of money or tools, but a lack of meaning. One of his deepest ideas is that when life is only about being comfy and having fun, the soul starts to choke. Humans need something to work for, something that needs effort, sacrifice, and duty. Without this, even fun becomes boring.
In Notes from Underground, the speaker laughs at the idea of a perfect, logical world where human actions are figured out like math. He says people will act crazy on purpose just to prove they aren't robots. This isn't just being messy, it's a cry to be an individual. Think about how often people today feel like just a job title, a number, or a piece of data. Stats, social likes, and constant comparisons. Dostoevsky knew that when who you are is decided by the outside, the inner self fights back. That fight often looks like anxiety, lack of care, or quiet self-damage. Not because the person is broken, but because something important is being ignored. Another big theme for him is that you can't be neutral in life. Many think they can live without taking a stand, without having values, or without facing right and wrong. Dostoevsky hated this idea. To him, not choosing is still a choice, and avoiding duty has a cost.
In Crime and Punishment, Raskolnikov's big mistake isn't just the crime, but the idea that he is above the rules. He tries to live as a cold idea rather than a real person. The result is a broken mind. His thoughts turn on him, and his loneliness grows. Dostoevsky shows that when the brain is cut off from the heart, the mind becomes its own judge, and the verdict is harsh. Ask yourself, are there parts of your life where you hide behind theories or excuses to avoid being responsible? Are there values you say you have but don't live out because it would cost you something? Dostoevsky believed that inner peace doesn't come from avoiding stress, but from bringing it all together. The human soul is a war zone between what we want and what we should do, between freedom and fear, and between faith and doubt. Trying to kill one side causes a problem. Growth comes from facing these fights honestly. This idea fits with later thinkers like Viktor Frankl, who said that meaning, not happiness, is what we really need. Dostoevsky saw this years before. He showed that when people lose meaning, they become easy targets for sadness, bad habits, and extreme ideas, anything that promises to fill the hole inside. In The Brothers Karamazov, he faces the big question. If humans are free, they are also responsible, and you can't hand that duty to anyone else, not to a group, a leader, or a system. Each person must answer for how they live, how they love, and how they face pain. This is scary, but also gives you power.
Think about this. What if your worry isn't a sign of failure, but a sign that you are meant for something deeper? What if the unease you feel is an invite to live more clearly and bravely? Dostoevsky doesn't promise to make you feel better, he promises to wake you up. And waking up is never easy at first. It means dropping the lies, admitting the clashes, and choosing duty over running away. But on the other side, you find something rare, integrity and meaning, a sense of being right with yourself that no one else can give you. In the last part, we will face the most powerful and troubling point of all, the one that explains why seeing yourself in his characters is the first step to real change. Now we get to the most shocking idea Dostoevsky has, the one that connects everything else. It's not just about pain, guilt, or freedom alone. It's about responsibility. Total, personal, and unavoidable responsibility.
Dostoevsky believed that the moment a person really gets that they are in charge of their inner life, everything changes. Not society, not luck, not history, but the self. This is scary because it takes away your last excuse. If you are responsible, you can't just blame your parents, your past, or the world. You can explain them, yes. You can see how they changed you, but you can't hide behind them forever.
In The Brothers Karamazov, this idea is explained clearly. Everyone is responsible for everything and everyone. At first, that sounds crazy. How can one person carry that much? But he isn't talking about the law. He's talking about the soul. He means every move you make, every time you stay silent, and every time you give in shapes your world and the world around you. Responsibility spreads. So does running away. This is why he saw lying to yourself as the biggest danger. When people refuse to be responsible, they don't stay neutral, they break apart. They split into what they know is true and what they pretend they don't see. Over time, this makes you feel numb. Life feels fake and meaning disappears. Then people ask the wrong thing. Why do I feel empty? When they should ask, what truth am I hiding from? His characters suffer because they feel this truth, but fight it. The underground man knows he's hurting himself, but holds on to his anger because it's who he is.
Raskolnikov knows he broke his inner rules, but waits to admit it because giving up feels like dying. These aren't just stories. They are patterns we see in real life all the time. Look inside for a moment. Where do you put off being responsible because it would force you to change? What story do you tell yourself to stay where you are? Dostoevsky knew that meaning isn't just found, it's built through choices, through promises, and through acting on what you know is right. This is why pain alone doesn't fix you. Pain only matters when it leads to taking charge. Otherwise, it just makes you bitter. Later thinkers would repeat this, but Dostoevsky lived it long ago. His work says the way out of inner mess isn't comfort or distraction, but honest effort. Not being perfect, just trying. Being willing to look at yourself truly. Here is the last and most powerful point. The reason his characters feel so familiar is that they aren't just warnings to scare you.
They are mirrors meant to wake you up. Seeing yourself in them isn't a failure, it's an invite. An invite to stop living without thinking, to stop repeating the same inner fights, and to stop choosing familiar pain over the scary job of being responsible. Ask yourself, and be honest, if you took total charge of your inner life, what would you have to stop doing? And what would you finally have to start?
Dostoevsky believed humans could really change, but only when they stop lying to themselves. The truth is harsh at first. It breaks down your fake ideas. But once those are gone, something great happens. You get stronger, things get clear, and life feels like it has a real goal. So when you feel uneasy, don't run to silence it. Listen. When you feel guilt, don't make an excuse. Look at it. When you feel restless, don't hide. Ask why. These feelings aren't enemies. They are signs pointing to a better way to live. And now the question comes back, heavier but clearer. If this is you, then this isn't the end of the journey. It's the start. If you are still here, it means something inside you felt the truth, not in your head, but in your gut. Dostoevsky believed truth doesn't always come as a clear thought. Often it comes as a disturbance, a quiet inner pull that won't go away. That pull isn't meant to stop you. It's meant to call you forward.
The danger isn't the pain itself. It's the pain you don't think about. Pain that is repeated without thought becomes who you are. Anger becomes a home. Being a victim becomes a story you tell yourself so much it feels safer than changing. Dostoevsky knew many people aren't afraid of pain. They are afraid of being responsible, because that means you have to be brave enough to leave old habits behind, even the ones that hurt. There is a moment in every person's life where they must choose, not between big good and big evil, but between being aware and hiding, between telling yourself the truth or keeping up the fake deal with your heart. This is where real change either starts or gets pushed away again. You might notice how often people say they want change, but build their lives to avoid it. They wait for a feeling, for confidence, or for a sign. Dostoevsky would say, this waiting is just a way to say no. Action doesn't come after you are sure. You get sure after you act.
Meaning isn't found by thinking endlessly about life. It's found by taking charge, even when you're scared. This is why freedom feels heavy. It takes away the excuse that someone else will choose for you. It forces you to see that your life is made every day by what you put up with, what you justify, and what you won't face. If you are honest, you already know where you are cheating yourself. You know the talks you avoid, the habits you keep, and the truths you put off. His work doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be honest. And honesty is the door to strength. When people ask how to get away from worry or emptiness, his answer wouldn't be nice. He would say, stop trying to escape and start asking what your pain wants from you. What duty are you being asked to take on? What truth are you being forced to see? Life gets meaning when what you do matches what you know is right. Even small acts of being responsible make you feel whole.
You feel less split, not because life is easy, but because it's real. So don't run from being uncomfortable. Don't drown it with noise. Sit with it. Ask it questions. Let it show you the way. Inside that feeling is the chance to grow and respect yourself. And if you saw yourself in this, remember, seeing it isn't a bad thing. It is your first act of being free. The moment you see yourself clearly is the moment you have the power to choose something new. That is the task Dostoevsky leaves for you. Not an answer, but a job to do. And the question stays, not as a blame, but as an invite. Is this you? Thanks for watching.